India has been criticised by the EU and the US for its purchases of Russian oil since the war in Ukraine. However, under the Biden administration, Delhi was encouraged to buy Russian oil. Former US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said exclusively to Reuters in November 2022 the then proposed price cap would give India, China and others leverage to push down prices further. She said Russian oil is, quote, going to be selling at bargain prices and we're happy to have India and get that bargain, or Africa or China. It's fine. India and private Indian oil companies can also purchase oil at any price they want, as long as they don't use these Western services and they find other services. And either way is fine. Implicit in this approach under the Biden administration was the principle that Russian oil shouldn't be totally embargoed to control prices, but the revenue to Moscow should be reduced. Raymond, let me come to you. So what has changed under the Donald Trump administration?
I think Donald Trump wanted to fill in all the gaps. So in terms of trade and tariff, when he found that the major loopholes in his first presidency is the transshipment or redestination of the Chinese product. So you see the all total ban or total tariffs or so-called reciprocal tariff on all countries, not only on China. So that's a similar or parallel development when we found that there's a loophole for those economic sanctions, and you find the need to fill in all those loopholes. So that demonstrated in his consideration of so-called secondary tariff to levy on the buyers of Russian oils, for example, majorly China and India. I think that's the thinking behind Trump's.
So he is working towards this total embargo.
Yeah.
And so, you know.
And also for raising the price of American-produced oil, so forcing the major oil buyers to seek for American oil instead of Russian oil.
Yeah, because the concerns was that removing, the millions of tons of Russian LNG from the market overnight would cause a catastrophic price.
That's another factor. That's Trump's characteristics. He's willing to go to the extreme to
he wants that
put
to happen.
Pressures on even his allies.
Okay. And Sana, how about hurting developing countries, nations? If there were region-wide blackouts, sort of unrest this would cause?
Absolutely, and I feel this is something that the US is not really trying to understand. And I think the question that you asked, Raymond, I would also say that this is something that India at least is trying to figure out, like what changed under Donald Trump administration 2.0. And I think not just India, even a lot of people within Trump administration also figuring it out. I would give you an Indian perspective on this. In India, what we saw was that there was no one for Donald Trump to blame, and India was an easy target. And if you ask me, I would say that China is the enabler, the main enabler of this war, and also actually kind of assisting Russia in this war. But then we haven't really heard any mention of China there. So for India, it's more about securing the energy security. India is getting affordable, cheaper energy sources from Russia, and India is absolutely trying to diversify. It's not that India hasn't really put any measures to stop arm import from Russia or energy supplies from Russia. But then it takes time. And then what are all the alternatives that India has? And for a country like India, even a few $1 billion make a lot of difference. So provide the alternatives. And what is going to happen when there's a blackout, when there is energy outage, as in India has to think about 1.4 billion people. So I think there is this under-appreciation from the US side.
Sure. And we started the show with, the clips from Donald Trump. He's putting a lot of pressure on India. Do you think India will reduce? It hasn't said that it would. Would it get to a point where it would look to reduce, or is that simply not in its national interest?
There are three aspects to this question. First is India has to look for ensuring its energy security. And second is India follows strategic autonomy. So India is a major country. So a country like the US or any other country, China, can't just come and say that you have to do it because we are asking you to do it. So India's foreign policy is now multi-alignment strategic autonomy, and that whatever India is doing fits very well within the wider approach. And the third is India really values its relationship with the US. So it's definitely trying to diversify. India is more pro-West than the West actually realizes it. But then India is not going to cooperate with the US and agrees to whatever it asks India to do and compromise on its national interest as energy security. This is just not going to happen.
Margine, in terms of, back then, 2022 compared to 2025, is it also perhaps that price cap didn't work?
It is absolutely possible that the price cap didn't work, but I believe that especially when we try to dissect why countries like India are on the receiving end of the pressure from the United States, I don't think that it's as simple as just a negotiation about energy security. As we can see, the United States is putting very pronounced pressure on its trade partners around the world with the tariff war. And with India, there have been several concerns as defined by Washington. For example, subsidies provided by the Indian government to the pharmaceutical sector, or tariff and non-tariff barriers to agricultural imports, which are of course very important to the Republican electoral base in the United States. So I believe that here it's more than just about Russian oil. It's more a part of the chaotic chessboard of the broader tariff war.